the Honorable Minister of Art and Culture, Government of Goa, Sri Govinda Gowde, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Varun Sahib, Professor Ghulam Muhammad Sheikh, Sri Bose Krishnamachari, and Srimati Vidya Shivadas, and friends. A very warm welcome to this conference on art education in Goa. The foundation of Indian art and education is a Goa-based organization working towards the creation of an interface between art practice, art education, and the society at large. It was formed following a conclave here in Goa a few years back on art education. Informal discussions among the participants led to the conclusion that discussions based on anecdotal evidence and experience of individual teachers, while useful, cannot be the basis of putting together a comprehensive picture of the state of art education in India. And without dependable empirical data and a clear picture of what exists, no comprehensive planning can be undertaken. As such data was not available, it was decided by some of us that an organization be formed to take up such a project. This led to the formation of FIAE. The foundation began its work of data collection by approaching the art colleges directly with a questionnaire about the courses run, staff and student strengths, studio space, library and internet facilities, and nature of funding, etc. Art colleges in the 5 states of South India were covered in the first phase. This was followed by a seminar in collaboration with Kochi Missouri's Biennale Foundation in Kochi in November 2015, where the findings of the survey were presented and feedback was gathered from various stakeholders. Following this, the foundation did a similar survey across India covering 80 odd colleges. The final findings will be presented here later in the seminar conference, and the data is the first of its kind, and the empirical data it has generated will hopefully provide a fairly factual and comprehensive picture of the present state of art education in India and help educationalists and governments to take corrective measures and plan better. Meanwhile, as a visiting research professor at the Goa University, and which I think is an excellent program, worthy of emulation by other universities in India, I got to discuss some of these issues with the Vice Chancellor here, and he took a keen interest in these issues and in art education in general, and that paved to this seminar in collaboration with the Goa University. One of the main problems facing Indian education today, I believe, is the absence of a comprehensive vision. We have had several commissions looking into and suggesting educational policies, but most of them were tasked to look at one sector of it and suggest means for improvement. For instance, we have been concentrating on inclusive and universal school education, and very rightly so, but paying little attention to good and effective school education. On the other hand, our focus on university education is on achieving global standards without investing in education in a really significant way, or even thinking about the integral relationship between school and university education. Without quality school education, it will be virtually impossible to create world-class universities. If we take care of our schools, the university will take care of themselves to a great extent. This lack of connection between school and university education also affects art education in several ways. let me point to just one aspect. There was a time when art practice was considered primarily an exercise of representational skills. The absence of language and conceptual resources were not considered a hindrance to creative excellence. Some even believed that just as blind birds enhance or sings better, they thought the absence of intellectual abilities enhanced the artistic power of artists. Since the beginning of modernism, art has been delinked from skill to a great extent. Today, it is much more closer to philosophy, critical thinking, social sciences, and political activism. The lines differentiating these different areas are now much more blurred than it ever was. But most of our art schools still impart skill-based training. A majority of our students, and unfortunately a good part of our art teachers, come without the resources or preparedness necessary to participate in the changed scene or contribute to it meaningfully. Besides a good school system, we need many more things to improve our university education. I'll point again to just one aspect, which has been widely acknowledged by the powers that be, but they are reluctant to practice it as widely as we have noticed it. For over a decade, successive governments have been wanting to build centers of excellence or institutions of eminence which can compete with the best in the world. And to do so, they promise 1. Academic autonomy, and 2. Additional funding to select institutions. If this is a good educational policy for some, then it should also be a good educational policy for everyone. I hope the speakers in this conference will discuss these and many other issues in great detail and come up with suggestions. And I hope the administrators will listen to them with due critical interest. If this happens, both the survey and the conference will achieve its objectives. Thank you.